San Angelo. I'm Whitney Wood, and I'm a proud member of the Concho Valley community, as well as supporter of public education. And today we are so honored to be joined by Mr. Max Parker, who is a local attorney and partner at Webb, Stokes & Sparks, but has also been serving on the San Angelo ISD board for nearly 2 decades, 18 years since 2005. So we hugely appreciate that dedication and time commitment. And Max, we are looking forward to kind of hearing directly from you about your time as a board member and why you choose to serve our San Angelo community in this volunteer capacity in this way.
Well, I grew up in Comanche, Texas, and attended public school there. My dad was on the school board there for about 9 years, and during the time that he was on the school board, interestingly, he was sued twice as a board member. And I asked him one time, because I could tell it was taking a toll on him, why do you do this? Why are you on the board? And he said this, and I mentioned this when I was sworn in back in January of 2005. He said, you can be on the outside throwing stones, or you can be on the inside trying to make a difference. And he says, I choose to make a difference because I have 4 kids in the school district. So that resonated with me, and I always thought that maybe I would want to be a school board member someday, and the opportunity presented itself when Julia Stout, who was a board member back in 2005, 2004, really, when she first spoke to me, said she was going to go off the board early, and the board was considering appointing someone, and she wanted to know if I would be somebody that would be considered, and I said yes, and that's how I got on the board.
Well, again, we truly appreciate that, and being a difference maker can be hard and time consuming, but for some of our community members that don't necessarily know you, can you tell them a little bit about your family? You have some kiddos that actually were part of the school district too, right?
Yes, I had, well, first my wife and her family all went to SAISD, even though I moved here in 1977 after going to school in University of Texas and undergrad and law school, and I got a job, as you mentioned, at Webb, Stokes & Sparks, which I'm now celebrating my 46th year there. Oh. But we had 5 children, and all 5 have now attended SAISD, and one of my memorable moments that I didn't think about of being on the school board is I had the opportunity to shake each one of their hands as they went across the stage when they graduated. How
special to see those future-ready graduates when they're actually your kiddos, and you probably knew a lot of the other ones just from affiliation of their friends as well. Well, we again appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today so we can learn a little bit more about you, as well as the challenges and the wonderful, great things that you were able to do as part of the San Angelo ISD board. I'm going to ask you a few questions, so I think we'll get started. As an elected official, why do you choose to serve in this unpaid volunteer position? I don't think a lot of people realize how much time it really takes to be a board member, because you have to know so much about the school district, and that's in addition to your role as an attorney that also is pretty time consuming and demanding as well.
Well, again, what I mentioned earlier, I wanted to make a difference, hope that I could make a difference, and having children in the school district, it made me think, as compared to other civic or elected positions, this one, the time that I'm spending, I can say maybe would have some direct or indirect result on helping my own children or their friends or other children in the community, as compared to just being on a different, elected position with the city or the county or the state, which are also very important. But for me, it allowed me to participate and also help support my own children.
Yeah, and at that time you're supporting nearly 14,000 students that truly are the future of our community. So you've made an incredible impact in that way. What is the most impactful decision you and the board team made during your tenure, in your perspective?
Well, to me it's pretty easy. When we received training right after I got on the board, one of the trainer who was speaking to our group said, if you ever have the opportunity during your tenure as a board member to hire a superintendent, give that your utmost attention, hire the best superintendent you can, because if you hire a good one, it's going to make your life a lot better. And it's going to make your district much better. And so I had that opportunity, and we hired Dr. Carol Ann Bonds, and all of that came true. She made our lives easier as board members, and I think she had a huge impact on our school district and our community.
Absolutely, and that's kind of that trickle down of that strong leadership when we talk about difference makers within the school district that go all the way from your superintendent down to every position within the school district. So I'm certain that that made a huge difference. So thanks for telling us a little bit about that. What are some of your favorite memories from serving on the board? I know there's been a lot of moments even with the children that you're making a difference with.
Well, probably for most board members, our favorite time of the year is graduation, because when we are on the stage and see the graduates go by, it makes us, it's showing our work. It puts it in action. As you said, we were seeing our future ready graduates there, and that's a proud moment. Also, at board meetings when we do recognitions for our teachers and our students that have excelled in either academic or sport activities, and they come around, and after we recognize them, we get to shake their hands. Those are always the times that I think our board team enjoys the most, because it's seeing our actions really come to fruition through our students and our teachers and things that they're doing well.
Yeah, and a snapshot to see that all the hard work that you put in is really helping set them and launch them off to their own futures. Will this graduating class be a special one for you, the class of 2024?
Well, it's special.
2023, I'm sorry. Jumping ahead.
They're all special.
Yeah.
Now, what you haven't mentioned is I'm going off the board.
Yeah.
And I'll go off the board really a couple of weeks before graduation. So just like when I went on the board in 2005, I was able to sit on the stage. Here, I won't be sitting on the stage, so it won't be as special as some of the others, but I have been able to meet many of the students through our recognitions. I know it's an outstanding class. We'll be shaking hands again for those in April and May, and we're going to be seeing many more. It's like most classes. Every time we have a class, I say this is the best class ever. This is going to, again, the class of 2023 is going to be the best class ever from Lakeview and from Central.
Well, and you've been impacting them since they were younger all the way through in this journey that they've had with San Angelo ISD.
I hadn't thought of it. There's probably some that weren't even born when I started on the board.
It's crazy. Well, that's your dedication and commitment, but it does. It's neat to see all of the hard work you've put in, along with the hard work those individual students and the educators all along the way kind of come together. You know, I just want to mention last year around graduation, there were some highlights about different things that were going on with the graduating class. And there were a special group of kids that were CTE, the Career and Technical Education, that were graduating and then a week later starting jobs. It was some of the welding kids. And when you talk about future ready and what you and your different board trustees have done together to really help grow and support that program. I mean, these were kids that a week later were starting careers that I think they were making $60,000, $70,000, and that's because of people like you that have been dedicated to supporting those programs, as well as partnering with the city and the chamber for recognizing what those needs are. What do you think about kind of those opportunities and what CT and what you and your team have done to help support those?
Well, you said it very well. We last week, some of the board members were at a community organization that had invited us, and someone was asking us, what do you do about those kids that aren't going to college? They're important too. So we had this same discussion. We know that there are a certain group of our children, our students, that college is not really their calling. That's not really where they have a passion. And so we knew this several years ago, and when the Kate Center, as we call it, CTE Center, was established at San Angelo Independent School District. As you said, it offers a lot of opportunities for these students to learn a profession or vocation, even get certified maybe as a welder, but something that will allow them to have tools that they can help in our community get a job sooner than later, or have started a foundation to be able to build on, whether it might be a certified nurse assistant, I don't think it's assistant, but something like that, that they can, if they want to get into the nursing field or get an LVN or an RN, welding, 3D animation, there's just things that we offer that gives them their first step to get into employment. And nowadays I tell many students, I say, look, don't overlook the professions like electrician, plumbing, contracting. Those, they're looking for people now. And don't go to college just to go to college. And when I was growing up, it was, you know, many years ago now, but it was almost guaranteed. If you got a college degree, you're set. You're going to be able to get married and be able to support your family. I would like to say that's true today, but many times it's not. Many times there are people getting a degree and they're not able to get a job because the degree that they got is not really where employers are looking for those skills. But and so some of those students, maybe rather than go to college, need to be thinking that, okay, I'm going to be a vocation, like I said, of plumbers or electricians or in the contract trades or other things like that that are desperately looking for qualified employees, and that's what our CATE centers and you know, tries to direct those students to. So you're exactly right. We're very proud of that, and it's very rewarding to hear from those students, like you said, that I see them and they're already making a very good wage in something that they like and have a passion with.
Yeah, and it's neat to see that some of those may even start being entrepreneurs, and not only are they working for a need to meet a need in the community, but they may start their own plumbing company or their own welding company. So I've loved seeing the kids grow in that capacity. So thank you for helping work with your team to lead that. Why do you think public education is important to the future of San Angelo and our country? And you've answered a little bit with that question, but maybe can expand on that.
Well, I read an article, you know, not long ago that spoke about public education, the importance of public education, and why the founding fathers of our country and of our state thought that it was very important to establish a system of public schools, free public schools. And those reasons, if I can remember them, one was they thought to have an educated electorate, that persons that would become critical thinkers, that is, that they would search for the truth, understand what was going on around them, would better understand the importance of democracy. Because when our country was, you know, first founded, democracy, a democratic nation where you have people that you elect to represent you rather than just a monarch or something, that was new. And so they wanted our electorate to understand the importance of it, and the way to learn that is through education. So that was one thing. The second thing, they knew if you have a workforce that is educated, that they are more innovative. They, as you said, they better understand what it takes to be an entrepreneur and how to run a business. And your country then becomes where persons are making more money. And that was important. And the third thing was there was a time before we had free public schools that only the wealthy could send their children to schools, to private schools. So the wealthy children were being educated. Those that were lower socioeconomic were not. So that's the great thing about America. We have the American dream. So the way that you can equalize that gap between the wealthy and the lower socioeconomic is through education, because through education you can accomplish anything. And so that was very important to the founding fathers, and I think all those reasons are very important today. We need to have persons that really, which is getting to be very difficult, critical thinkers that can look for both sides and try to find the truth and understand what's really important in our country and try to solve those problems working together. Secondly, an educated electorate is going to make our have more innovation when we're now competing with foreign countries on, you know, who's going to come up with the next great idea. And again, educated workforce are going to be able to make more money. That gives a higher tax base. And lastly, we don't want those gaps between we only have the wealthy and we only have and the poor. We want to make sure we have a strong middle class, and education can accomplish that. So I think what the Founding Fathers were thinking about is the same thing we're thinking about today.
Absolutely, and I love seeing the opportunities that the district works to bring our kids across the district, no matter what their backgrounds, and to really help them pursue their own hopes and dreams. And it's neat to hear you mention the critical thinking piece, because I know the district and you and the board members really worked on developing the learner profile that has the 4 C's, and critical thinking is one of those, along with collaboration and communication. And I'm missing one right now. There's another one in there, but I'm missing it right now. But identifying what the important pieces are for those kids to have that are not just, you know, 1 + 1, 2 + 2, but really how can they expand on those skills that are skills that they can use in any job, in any career, to be innovative and to really collaborate and work together. So that's great to hear. You know, you talked about our Founding Fathers, and not necessarily, you know, they wouldn't necessarily be able to foresee what we have going on today, but did develop some things that could be lasting from that time. But what are some of the issues that public schools face today that you are passionate about?
Well, unfortunately, there's some very serious issues that are occurring. One, we have as most people know, but I'm not sure they understand how critical it is, but we have a teacher shortage. And it's not, in my opinion, I know they're discussing it in Austin right now because the governor made it a priority, but I don't know that it's going to be a simple issue for us to overcome. We have, over the past few years, even before COVID, there were more and more teachers that felt stressed trying to teach their students in a way that they would do well on the standardized testing. And they were having to spend more hours in curriculum development, and go home at night having to grade papers, working over the weekend, and it was so we were losing, not a huge percentage, but more teachers than we had been were retiring early. Then we had COVID come up, and that added more stress, because almost overnight teachers were asked, okay, you're not going to now be teaching students in your classroom, you're going to be teaching them virtually over a virtual platform, which some teachers, especially some of the older ones like me, that was not their preferred platform. And I don't think any teacher, their preferred platform is to teach over a computer to people that are remote. They like to see them and be able to take care of them every day. So that was stressful. And then when we did go back to school, the teachers were right in the firing line between what was going on across our country with mask mandates and vaccine and parents that have different ideas of how they want. Some parents wanted their children to be ultra protected when they got back to school. Others were thinking they were upset that they were forced to wear a mask and have to sit apart. So the teacher took the brunt for those things. So we started losing more teachers. And we're continuing we have some more teachers that are leaving a little bit earlier than normal. But what's even more serious, in my opinion, is we're not graduating teachers now. Colleges aren't. Colleges are maybe down from where they graduate 150 new teachers a year to maybe 48 or 50. I think that's what may be going on at ASU, and it's not different than any other college. We routinely, over the years, have gotten most of our new teachers from Angelo State, who we have a great partnership with. But we're not, last year we weren't, and we're not going to be able to depend on that this year to be able to hire new teachers from Angelo State to restock all the teachers the openings that we have. And we don't know where we're going to find teachers. We are diligently going all across the state now looking for teachers. But you know, if you live in San Angelo, you really know that most workers that are going to stay here long term need to have some West Texas roots. You hire someone from Houston, they're not used to living when there's not as much rain and there's not as much trees as there are in San Angelo. People in West Texas appreciate West Texas, and we just don't have enough new teachers with West Texas roots that are going to stay and come to San Angelo and stay in San Angelo long term. And why are there less students choosing teaching now? One of those, they're not hearing maybe great things about the profession, but what more has occurred from what I've been able to research is back when I was going to college, there weren't many degree plans that women felt confident in that they would be able to get jobs. Teaching was one, nursing was one, but being a doctor, a lawyer, business person, a president or CEO of a company, there weren't that many women that were in those roles. Over the years, and we're talking now 50 years since I was in school, women have been, you know, a lot of those things are flipped. There's probably more women in law school now or med school than there are men. And so they've got other things that they can do other than teach. So there's not as many women going into the teaching profession. Never has been that many men, but there certainly hadn't been that many more men going into the teaching profession to replace those women that are not there. So that's the part that I think is going to be more difficult for our legislature to be able to find a remedy for. Is where do we, you know, even if we could find some way to get a bunch of new students now, you're still going to have 3 or 4 years before they will be able to graduate. So we've got to find a way to remind our parents and our electorate and our students that teaching is a very noble profession. That it's, as you were mentioned several times, you're right there on the ground floor being able to have a huge impact on the future of our state and our country by impacting those minds and helping to develop those future-ready students. I mean, teachers are invaluable for that. So I really hope that it doesn't become a long-term plan, a long-term problem, I mean, but we really need to get our heads together to figure out how we can overcome this.
Well, and their role is absolutely critical to the future of San Angelo, to our state. And so I think from what you're saying is that, you know, the more support we can get from our community, from our parents, from all of our educators as well, and just our entire community to rally around our educators and our difference makers so that they feel supported, and also maybe get some of the support that we might need at the legislative level. I do know that the district has been doing some unique things to try to answer some of these concerns, and I believe there's a Grow Your Own program that when you talked about West Texas roots, and I have to say it, you know, I'm from Central Texas and I've been here I think like 6 or 7 years now, so it does happen. Some of us stick around, but I know it's you know, some people just don't know that much about West Texas, so getting them here might be a part of that. But the Grow Your Own program identifies not only some of the students that are graduating from San Angelo ISD that might go on to ASU or somewhere else and stick around and stay here to teach, but also some of the other educators that are in different roles, like perhaps the paraprofessionals. So maybe you can speak a little bit about your thoughts on that program. It's an excellent program. It's where, you know, if we have persons that have been working for the school district for many years, it's secretarial or assistant some way in the classroom, they already realize, because they see it head on, the challenges today in teaching children, and where sometimes our beginning teacher might not know, oh my, what have I gotten into? And so if persons that have already had that experience that we can now help them get a degree and become the teacher themselves, the chances are they will stay a teacher because they already know what it's all about, and they're already appreciate those challenges, but they also have a passion
that they want to be a teacher. So I think it's a great program, and we're really being able to offer very low cost way that they can go to school, a lot of times at night while they're still doing their regular work. We just need to get more people into the program, but I think that's going to be an opportunity to help restock our teachers.
Yeah, and it's been a great partnership with some of the local groups here in San Angelo as well, partnering with ASU as well as Howard Community College. So it's neat to see all of those kind of come together to support that and again answer a need in our community. And I also think I've heard some about some PLCs that are kind of professional learning groups where that it's to help some of those younger teachers, because I heard you say that, because anytime somebody goes from the college life where you're learning kind of how to do something versus actually being in it and somewhat in that mentorship role, it's really kind of it's a real life experience. So having those opportunities learn from some of the more tenured teachers and educators, and that's really been a neat thing, I think, as well. So we definitely wish them well with that, and continue to support your educators, support your school districts, because they're really doing great work to support our community in the future. So what is a legacy that you hope to leave for current and future board members that are going to be continuing your legacy, what you've already done in the future?
Well, Lanny was interviewed maybe last year, Lanny Lehman. He was one of my mentors. He was on, he served even 20 years, I think, on the board. And he and I discussed that on several occasions. And we've tried to encourage board members to stick around more than just one term or 2 terms, which is, I think, what historically most boards, their board members are only around for 5 to 6 to 7 years, and then they, which is great. They have served their time and they're ready to move on. But you're really just learning what it's all about the time you get off the board, and then you bring in inexperienced board members. And when you have a turnover in the board, that causes sometimes a turnover in administration, which causes a turnover with teachers, because there's changes that are made, sometimes good, sometimes not good. And so we've tried to encourage each other. I encourage Lanny, stay one more term, Lanny. I'll go one more term if you'll go one more term. And Gerard has been on, he's only 6 months behind me, and then Bill Dindal's just a few years behind him. So we are encouraging all our board members to stay on if they can. So I think that's a legacy. It's not just for me, attributed to me, but mainly started by Lanny to stay an extra term or 2. You haven't asked me this, but Dr. Kyle Mills is going to take my place. And I told myself quietly, I've never had, up to my whole 18 and a half years, I've never had an opponent, which may be good, may not be good. It may be that people thought I was doing a good job. It may be that we just didn't have people that were interested. So, but Kyle, I had several others that talked to me in the fall about, are you going to run again? I might be interested, and I tried to tell them all, great, you ought to consider it. They want to know just what you were asking, what are the time constraints, so forth. But when it came, and I told myself, if somebody really has the right attitude and really has the right thoughts on why they want to be on the board, I'll gladly give this position up. But when it came January, most of the people I'd spoken to had said, I just don't think it's the right time for me. Kyle was one that stayed with it. In fact, I even said, Kyle, what if I ran, some of the board members want me to run again and then maybe go off later and you could be appointed. Would you still run? He says, yes, Mr. Parker, I've decided I'm going to run. Even if I run against you, it'll be good experience for me or whatever. I said, good, you're going to be the board member then, because I'm not going to run. Kyle is like 35 years old. He's got a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. He's a doctor. He's going to be a great board member because his passion was the same as mine. He says, I just want to do what's best for all the students in the district. So I'm proud of him that he's going to come on board. But So there, again, that was another part of our legacy is don't leave the board unless you know you've got good board members coming up behind you. Just don't leave it to chance. So Lanny did a good job with that, with Pam Duncan, who's got many years experience as a teacher. One of the first times we've had a teacher on our board that connect with the present teachers that we have, and she helps us understand what teachers are going through. And now I think Kyle would do a good job, filling my shoes.
Yeah, and bring different perspectives, maybe with the kiddos that are in school right now. But it sounds like you also have a relationship where he might come to you with some mentorship questions because, as you said, just serving one term, and there's so much to learn about public education, from different legislation things that come down to unique things that the high schools or the middle schools or elementaries are dealing with. So I'm sure that you're a wealth of knowledge in that, but he can also lean on some of his board members because they're not all going to be new. So I think it's been neat to see the transition as some come in to kind of help support each other. I also know that y'all came up with some board goals not too long ago, so that might be able to kind of be navigating, steering direction to help them kind of make sure they stay focused on the future as well. So
all true.
Yeah, so thank you for putting the hard work in on that piece as well. So getting down to, your real purpose was the kiddos. That's what you cared about, and helping them and helping the future. So what are kind of the hopes and dreams that you have for our students of San Angelo ISD?
Well, as you've mentioned, I want every student to have the opportunity to become the best they can be. There's one thing that I didn't mention that kind of fits into that when you said, is there any issues coming up? And there's people sometimes say, Max, when are we going to be good again? Our district just doesn't seem the same. I said, we're great. We've got great things going on. You just don't hear about it. We're winning awards, academic awards. We're winning awards in band and ROTC as well as athletics. But there is something that's really has changed, and it's changing our whole state. This is going to be a challenge for the board because when you say, what's my hopes and dreams, to make sure everybody can accomplish all they can accomplish. I looked this up, and back in 1985, when, which is about nearly 40 years ago, I wasn't on the board then.
I know that.
But our demographics then for SAISD, we were 59% white, 34% Hispanic students, and we had 28% of our students were low socioeconomic. In 2021, which is 36 years later, we are now 31% white, 60% Hispanic, and 63% low socioeconomic. So Steve Murdoch, who was our demographer for the state, did work for us right after I got on the board at SAISD, and he told us this was going to happen. All this was going to flip. And one thing he said is that the low socioeconomic historically don't begin school till later. They don't send their kids till first grade, second grade, or whatever. We're getting students right now coming into third grade that do not read or write English, do not read or write Spanish, and yet we're responsible, and they're going to be tested on the STAR test. So what he urged, and we're trying to do this, is that we're opening more pre-K programs, and this will be announced soon, and we just heard about it at our last meeting because we've been urging this. So we're going to have more pre-K schools, more pre-K opportunities for these parents. Now we need to get the parents of these kids, sometimes it's cultural that they don't want to send their kids to school till later, but we've got to encourage them, get them there in pre-K so that they have their best chance of being reading grade level in third grade, so that they're not behind and feel like they're just not as smart as other students. Because those kids that come in later and they're already a year or two behind students that either went to private pre-K or pre-K within our SAISD and already know how to read well by the first or second grade, and these students are coming in and don't even know their numbers or their letters. Those are the students that are most likely to drop out, not because they don't have the ability to learn, but because they're behind and they don't have the confidence that they're going to learn. So as far as hopes and dreams, right now, my passion, as I leave the board, is that we do our best. The whole community is going to have to get behind this. We're going to provide opportunities for every student in San Angelo to be in pre-K, no cost, and to start being able to, if that happens, then we're going to be able to accomplish our goal to get as many students as possible reading grade level by 3rd grade, so that they're on target, that they can get through elementary, then middle school and high school, and our graduation rate will go up. And those children then will have, as I mentioned, even our founding fathers want, then they've got their best opportunity to live the American dream and be anything they want to be.
That's absolutely amazing, and I think we'll mention this in a little bit, but I want to go ahead and do it since you're talking about that now. So for them to find out more information about the pre-K program and how it's being expanded, because there has been some in the past, but there were certain criteria, but this offers another more expanded opportunity. They can go to the website at www.saisd.org and then get more information about it there, or follow the Facebook page or Twitter, and I think they're even on LinkedIn for anybody that wants to come be an educator with us. But they can get more information about that, and so that's really exciting news. You know, I have a toddler. I understand that, you know, I read to him every night because you hear about the 1,000,000-word gap for kids that aren't exposed to reading daily, so I try to do that. But there are certain things that he does in daycare that I put him into pre-K that they're able to do that's curriculum based, and I know that when they're with SAISD, a pre-K program with them is going to have certified educators, so they're going to be really learning some great things. So that's a wonderful opportunity, and that's exciting to hear. So congrats on all of that, and I can't wait to see that in action and how it really helps our kiddos long term. So that's wonderful. Is there anything else that you want to share? Thank yous want to say, because I know that you've had a lot of supporters and you've worked with a lot of people like Mr. Lehman and Mr. Dindal and all those people that have been working together with you through these years.
Yes, I've had, I mean, there's many who've had an impact with me, even those that were Stormy Kimmery and Billy Hollis and Jim Carter, and Pritchie Griffiths and Sandy Harrison, those that, and Julia Stout, all those that were before me, even my former law partner who's passed away now, Sam Sparks, they were all mentors to me because they were prior board members. So hopefully I can be the same board member to any, you know, to our boards that in years to come. But I need to thank all of them. But we had many administrators that I've been in had the opportunity to work with over the years that I really appreciate them reaching out to me when they did, and all the teachers and that have been hanging in there over the years. I mean, they're the heroes. They're the superstars. Those are the ones that, you know, we keep mentioning this, but they're the ones that have. A board member doesn't have much direct impact with students. We hope we help initiate programs that will have an impact, but those teachers that are on the front lines every day, just making some child's day when they may not have anybody that's, well, you know, giving them a hug, giving them confidence that they can be something that they hadn't even thought about being. Those teachers are the ones that really need the pat on the back, as we've already said. And it bothers me that many of them now are, you know, are not happy with their jobs because some of them are just getting burned out. But we really need to give those teachers need hugs. Those teachers need pats on the back. And they've done a lot for me, and I really appreciate all of them.
Well, and I agree with you on that, and I say, you know, let's continue to give all of our support that we can to those educators, and, you know, and that's starting from the bus drivers at the beginning of the day to, you know, the educators that have them in the classroom to the cafeteria workers, to getting them the nutrition that they need.
Maintenance persons.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And those maintenance workers during COVID and Snowvid, which I know a lot of our Angelo folks will remember, they were working around the clock to make sure that we had fresh water for our kiddos and heated rooms when we didn't necessarily have that throughout the community. And so there's a lot of things that the school district does for the kiddos even beyond the education piece, which is our purpose.
All the free meals that we furnish year round, even in summer.
Yep, so it's taking care of those kiddos.
Some of those kids just don't have.
Yep, and that way they can focus on being what they need to be for following their hopes and dreams, so they're not worrying about those meals. So we hope they'll continue to do that. Well, it's been wonderful to visit with you today, as always, and I also just want to say personally thank you, because I know not only I've seen you in action on the school board, which again, that's a volunteer unpaid position, and they put in numerous hours, and I've seen them do that, and it amazes me how much you've done that for 18 years, as well as all the things you do in the community. And I know that you do that because you care about the kids, you care about helping support our community and their futures individually. So thank you so much for that. And you know, your visionary leadership, all of that, helping with those opportunities to keep those kids future ready. So, you know, I know that your fellow board members, Superintendent Dr. Detloff, as well as the whole administrative team and all of those educators, they know that you're in their corner supporting them. So we appreciate all you've done, and you know, we hope you'll continue to see all the wonderful repercussions of what you've done as these kiddos go out into our community, this class of 2023, and see what they do as well. So thank you again, and we want to remind people out there, you know, don't forget to follow us in Angelo ISD. I said it earlier, there's some great things coming along. There's the pre-K program, the expanded bilingual program that also helps a lot of things, but also important things like resources that they'll need, and to go register soon. I believe they need to be doing enrollment too, and that's going to be at SAISD.org or on the Facebook page for San Angelo ISD, or their Twitter, and again for potential educators on LinkedIn. So thank you so much, and we're going to miss having you here, but we know that you'll be watching everything that's going on, especially with those grandkids you have in the district as well.
Well, thank you, Whitney, for all you did. You've done much for our district, and you've done much in our community, and I want to also thank, I don't know if I mentioned some of their names, but we have a great board team. Lupita and Amy Mizell Flint, who I didn't mention their names. The board's going to be in great hands, and our district doesn't need to worry about that. We've got great board members and great people like you in the community that help. So thank you, and others that do the same.
And they're just continuing that legacy, so thank you.